G'day all, welcome back to the G-Man Show. I'm your host G-Man. Today we're going to take a look at a video called The Problem with Women. Don't take it too seriously, guys. I'm just having a bit of a laugh. This is more specifically around the younger women in their 20s and how they take the piss in the office. Let's jump in.
Female adult daycare is out of control. Big girl job. Can't wait to find out what it is. You know your job must be important when there's literally no one in the office. Consumed a beverage, turned a laptop on and swizzed around in a chair.
Oh, I just don't know why people would even tape that. You've got to be something wrong with your brain if you feel the need to show people how you don't do anything at work, you're basically useless, and put it out to the world on TikTok. Plus, probably being in her 20s, maybe mid-20s or more, and carrying on like she's 14 or 12 even. A 14-year-old wouldn't even do that. Yeah. It is hilarious.
And it's lunchtime. Ethics concern training. Sure, that's vitally important.
Hell, that's a busy day at work. Sat there with a spreadsheet open, doing jack shit. With a blank spreadsheet, and did some modules, some learning modules. But this goes to show you as well, there are a lot of jobs out there in the white collar world, in the corporate world, that are just useless. I work in this environment. I can tell you now, a lot of the jobs there could probably be done without. That's why at the moment there's a lot of layoffs and redundancies happening. And I'm not saying it's because of all these jobs people carrying on like this, but there are a lot of jobs that companies can just cut. Bonker, I don't know. And then you get people like this probably keep their job. Weird times are in.
Hard day at the office, same woman, literally the same video, only this time she somehow appears to do even less work.
Vogue, it's giving Madonna. Vogue, it's giving life. Dolls, it's giving Mariah. Diva, it's giving...
Hard day at the office.
Nah, this is something wrong with this person. Like that you need to constantly tape yourself going around and think that people care about you doing mundane things. But also not understanding as well, she's probably showing off that she's got this cruisy job or she's got a job, making yourself look absolutely useless. This is one surefire way to get yourself sacked. Some people find out you got this TikTok and you're basically taking the piss all day, every day. People are stupid.
Another day, another dollar. Another hard day at the office.
The thing is, right, if you're going to do that, because there are jobs in the white collar jobs. You have your ups and downs. Sometimes you're flat out. Sometimes you got nothing to do. You don't walk around and just blatantly pretend like you got nothing to do. You're going to draw attention to yourself. I mean, pretend that you should be even pretending at least to do work. Because that's probably half of people's office job is pretending they're doing work on Google and all sorts of things like that. YouTube, listening to stuff. Barely even paying attention to their work. But, you know, when the boss walks past, they sit upright, they click everything off. They have some spreadsheet there on the second screen. They start clicking around on that, making it look like they're really thinking about stuff. What the hell?
Welcome to Congressional Staffer Talk, where we are slowly crashing out because WTF is actually happening in the 119th session of madness. So many jobs, I swear, are fake. Office jobs are just daycare for women to make sure that they don't start a family and become a wife and mom. Look at her slippers that she's wearing at work, dancing on the table. And she thinks she's important, you know? She thinks that her job matters.
The smart-ass staffer, BLM, Free Palestine. American taxpayers, you're literally funding this.
What?
Casework? What work are you actually doing besides record?
Once again, mental problem. And they don't understand, right? They don't understand that. I'm not saying a lot of people do this. I've actually never come across someone who's done this. I've got a friend who worked in an office where the office manager there, she was sacked for doing stuff like this. Actually heard of it happening. I've never seen it. To the point where you have main character syndrome, right? Main character syndrome means nothing else matters in the world. The whole world revolves around you. To the point where you will obnoxiously make these videos, not realizing you're making yourself look useless. The whole world is laughing at you.
Recording literally hundreds of TikTok videos on the job.
Oh, how cringe is that?
Right, so you filed 4 pieces of paperwork. Hard day at the office.
It's my first day of training in DU as a consultant for Deloitte. I woke up at 6 a.m. to grab coffee.
Coffee.
Then I went to get breakfast with some of my friends.
Food.
Here's one of the coffee bars.
Coffee.
Same. We did some team bonding exercises.
Team bonding exercise. They're playing with Lego. It's a nursery.
So here are some of the things I had for dinner.
More food.
Towards the end of the night, it's now 8 p.m. We have more team bonding exercises.
More nursery.
Let's have some ice cream.
More food. Hard day at the office.
This is a day in my life as a product designer.
Once again, if you're going to be obnoxious, trying to look all chic and vogue, I've never seen a guy fucking do this. Excuse my language, guys, but this just annoys me. She said the company name. How dumb do you have to be? So they've got Meta here, which is Facebook, or the company that was formerly known as Facebook. And she was talking about Deloitte in the previous video, making it look like they do jack. Now, she's probably a graduate. I've worked in those similar places to that before. Grads really don't do a whole heap for the first few months. They do sit around playing with Lego and building. You know, you do these team building things where you build a structure out of spaghetti, and the one who has the highest one wins. All this stupid stuff. It is daycare for adults. I won't just say women. It is. Then you got corporate world. You got all these groups. Okay, I'll say this. You can call me sexist. I don't care. Corporate world, you got groups of 5 women first thing in the morning going out for a coffee at 9 a.m. Like the workday started and you don't come back till 10. But still leave at 5. Just take an hour for coffee. That's just part of your day. Getting paid to go and get coffee. I never understood that because I came from a working class background and I worked some pretty hard manual labour jobs. And then when I finally was able to break into the professional sort of white collared, well, I was stunned at the lack of the work that people actually do. Yeah, some people work really hard. Most people are taking the piss. They're soft. You know, just working 40 hours a week is like back-breaking labour for them. And I mean, turning up to the office 40 hours a week, not actually working 40 hours a week. People are out having lunches, coffees, treat it as a social endeavour. For me, it was just a completely different world. As I said, from the moment I clocked on in my former job before I got through university, to the moment I ended, I was busting my ass. And you know what? I loved it because I was busy. I felt productive. I was doing stuff. I was also keeping active. You go to these offices and you sit around stagnant.
Designer at Meta. We finished lunch with some gelato and then we went exploring and found a music room.
Literally what they have in nurseries. Hard day at the office. Finally get a job. Average of 7 to 8 Zoom meetings per day. Woman to man ratio is at least 10 to 1.
Gen Z boss and a mini. Gen Z boss and a mini.
What work are these women even doing? In between eating, drinking, making cringe TikToks and behaving like toddlers in a creche that can't and won't be replaced by AI within 10 years. Feminists told women that this girl boss careerism would be an exciting, cut and thrust, liberating experience. And what is
my experience was with Gen Zers, And even millennials a few years younger than me. I'm a bit of an old head as well. You guys call me a boomer. I don't care. I yell at the clouds every day on YouTube. I found it really hard to give instruction to these the graduates coming through now, like these kids straight out of university. There's just no real respect for directions. Think they know better than someone who's been around for 20 years the second they walk in the door. They get gassed up at university, or they get gassed up during all the interview processes for these companies. Like the work that they're doing is really going to be really important, and they want to do the really hard-hitting good stuff the second they walk in. No, it's you're going to be doing printing or the equivalents. You're going to be formatting Word documents and checking for spelling mistakes. You're going to be doing grunt shit. But I don't want to do that. They don't want to grind up and do the boring stuff. They want to come in and be the big dog day one. And I do think it is true that the corporate world can be like a daycare centre for adults. As I said, coffees. And for me, what I think are the biggest waste of money, the biggest spends, are these team building days they do. And sometimes they go for multiple days, and they'll fly a whole company to a certain location, either internationally or interstate. You know, you get hundreds of people in the one spot. There is zero value add to that. It is just an excuse for everyone to get together and get hammered. And probably for people to have affairs on each other while they're out traveling away from their husbands and wives. It's bonkers. Spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on like 2 days for no benefit. Everyone sits around. They hear about how great the company is. Propaganda is pushed down your throat. You do some stupid things where you got to like do an elevator pitch to the person next to you. Painful stuff.
It in reality, turning up to a mostly empty office, fiddling around in a wagey pod doing fuck all, and having an endless procession of pointless meetings.
Then we had back-to-back sessions for a few hours. We had some very cool brainstorming sessions. My teammates are such talented, thoughtful people. We had more back-to-back meetings until the end of the day.
It's a question I've heard so many times before. Paul, you're nearly pushing middle age. All right, rude. How come you look 10 years younger than you are? Only 10? Well, it's not rocket science. It's called regularly moisturizing your face and having a good skincare routine. That's why I'm excited to have Tiege Hanley as the sponsor of today's video. They help men start and maintain a skincare.
Yeah, guys, get your health care. All right.
Skincare journey today.
Back with another realistic day in the life at Google Seattle. Get to the office at around 6 a.m. to beat the traffic and just get a nice workout in. At around 7 a.m. I'm getting ready at the locker room. I'm getting breakfast at this really cute cafe at 8 a.m. Got some crepes, iced Americano, which is so good. And at around 8:20 I got to work. I usually get a snack at around 10 a.m. and today I forgot a charging cable, so I went to the vending machine to get one. And 11:30 is usually when I eat lunch. I got a whole hodgepodge of things including pizza, and this is the view that I like to eat with. At 12 o'clock I get some more caffeine and just spend the afternoon doing some more work. I like to de-stress at the end of the day, and today I booked a massage appointment, so I have that for an hour and then go home at 5:30.
Big life update. I got laid off yesterday.
Well, I'm sure her industrious hard work will be sorely missed.
Day in my life working from the Google LA office. I always grab...
That's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. Why would you put this on the internet? There are probably some of you watching that go, hey, I basically do sweet F all a lot of the time too. But do you flaunt it on the internet? So, hey, I come in, I do an hour of work. What's even work? What work did she even do? Probably just research something, maybe checked her emails, responded to useless emails, maybe sat in a Teams call that she had no input into, fluffed around, then got what the company provided lunch, and then had a company booked a massage appointment at 4:30 to de-stress from a corporate day where she's done more or less nothing effective in any way.
some candy from the reception before heading in. This used to be an old aircraft hangar. Next, I'm gonna pass by these art installations. They're a really good photo op. I'm gonna head to the coffee shop to grab some coffee, and then I'm heading over to this butterfly themed room to take my first meeting. It's so sparkly and beautiful in here. And I'm gonna grab my two favorite drinks, which is this green tea and coconut water. Next, I'm gonna go upstairs and grab some lunch. They always have pizza and a variety of different vegetables and meat. Okay. The food is always really good, and of course, everything you see in the office is free. On my way way out of the cafe, I ran into a doogler, which is a dog googler, and ran into some ghosts. When they were renovating the office, there were a lot of spooky stories from the crew, so there's a whole area in the office where you can listen to them. Then I got more work done and headed over to the massage chairs to wrap up my day. Let me know what you want to see next.
You doing some actual...
Like, surely they've got to be, you super intelligent people get a job there. But they're not overly encouraging people to bust their ass, are they? Or maybe that's the trap of it. They think, yeah, come here. We'll get you in. You're a top graduate at some top university and you've got massage chairs. Who gives a shit about all that? Who cares? I don't care if you got things for free in the fridge and kitchen. It's probably a better thing you don't. Because I can't be controlled. I'm like a Labrador. I'll eat it all. I'll get fat. I don't want any free food. I want to come in. I want to be busy. I want to be doing work. I want to be sitting around pretending to work and then watching other people walk in and out having coffees and lunches all day.
Work.
A day in my life getting laid off at Google.
Another irreplaceable loss.
Welcome to a day in my life as a Twitter employee. So quickly scheduled one of these little pod rooms, which was...
And then they all just got absolutely clipped. So the Google, I think, have had layoffs. All those big companies have had layoffs. You know how you avoid or try and avoid being laid off? Becoming or looking valuable, not putting on TikTok that you're doing sweet FA and documenting it and being proud of it and not understanding that this isn't normal. I have said this to people before, like it is true. The corporate environment is daycare for adults. It really is. He's right with that comment. I've said the exact same thing to other people. As I said, I've been blue collar, I'm white collar. You just see a lot of stuff and just shake your head.
So cool. They're literally noise canceling. Took my meeting, got ready for lunch. Look how delicious this food looked. Then made my way down to this log cabin area. I don't know what this is, but it was really cool. Played some foosball with my friends to kind of unwind a bit. Also found this really cool meditation room that I thought was super neat. I didn't do any yoga, but they have this yoga room if you are a yogi. So had some red wine that's on tap. Went up to the rooftop and just honestly enjoyed the beautiful weather.
Hard day at the office. The elephant in the living room is the eternal question. Are these pampered adult daycare jobs making women happier? Happier than they were decades ago when traditional gender roles established men as the primary breadwinners? Happier than they were when their time was primarily devoted to finding a good husband and raising children in the home? A real job which is far more fulfilling, important and valuable than showing up to an empty, soulless office to fill in banal spreadsheets, engage in meaningless Zoom calls, in between consuming a seemingly limitless amount of caffeine and pretentious health food. Are they happier? Our survey said...
I don't know. I think not everyone wants to do that traditional role. I can understand that. But I have noticed a lot of women, especially in corporate, when they get in sort of to their 30s, early 30s, the priorities do change a lot. And they do try and get into relationships and have babies and get married very, very quickly, because they sort of burnt all their time, the younger years, living this sort of lifestyle, this floating around corporate lifestyle. I'm not going to say it's all, but I've noticed it happen to quite a few. And then they either leave these high-performing places. Well, these don't look overly high-performing in these videos here. I think it's because of these individuals. But they leave these jobs which have high stress and requirements, and they go to other places where they can have stable potential income, maybe part-time, and focus on family life. Like some of the most talented, hardworking women that I saw when I was coming up the ranks, they're sort of checked out of it. Yes, some have kept on going with it, but majority have sort of checked out of it, and they use the skills and things that they learnt to get jobs with a bit more balance. And so I think that is probably true. But I think as well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. People can do whatever they want. And I know there's a lot of these videos out there, people saying, women should be mothers and that when they're in their 20s. Look, fair enough if that's your opinion. I was never overly a paternal person. So for me, I never really think like that. All right, let's keep it going.
Depression in women doubled since the 1970s as they try to have it all. Antidepressant use amongst adult US women has surged since the 80s. It doesn't look like they're much happier, does it? Feminists told women they could have it all, when in reality their attempt to have it all by climbing the corporate ladder is the very thing that puts men off from wanting to have relationships with them. Dating is the only thing you can put 10,000 hours into and end up right where you started. Katie Kerr, she was 30 and runs a leadership coaching startup out of New York City. A vital role, I'm sure. Ramped down her search for a husband after many of the men she dated either seemed turned off by her ambition or weren't career-oriented enough for her. So you're saying men are...
So it isn't so much men are put off by the ambition, it's by the masculine energy that comes through how much they value and talk about work. Like it's the main priority in their life. I've dated a lot of women like that in the past. Very, very successful at face value. All they ever talk about is work, and you get sick of that. Maybe you just want to enjoy life for what it is when you're not at work, especially as someone who was working in a job like that at the time. I don't want to talk about it when I'm not there. Like it's a full-blown identity. You can't let go. And I think that's what it is. Guys don't want to hear about that. Also, those kinds of women, they look down on men. So if the man isn't above her in terms of what he does or how much he earns or his potential, he's not going to be economically feasible to be a long-term prospect. That is true. There are many studies on that. And so you get these women like that one that was just on before complaining that, yeah, she's 30 and she can't find a guy anywhere. 10,000 guys will go out with you tomorrow. They're just not going to be making six figures or tick whatever obnoxious boxes you may have for them.
Are turned off by women who act like men. No, surely not. Men, where have you gone? Please come back. It's not men who have gone, it's women who've gone to their shitty corporate job to make themselves feel more important, pissing around all day playing with Lego and milking the inane perks for social media clout, a replaceable cog in the machine which will dispense with them at the first available opportunity. They trade a lifetime of organic joy and soul-nourishing motherhood for 10 years of arrested development, extended adolescence in a high-rise infantilized corporate HQ that treats them like pampered children, abandoning everything that makes them attractive to good men in the first place, then hit 30 after sleeping around for a decade, embarking on hundreds of worthless Tinder dates, still single. And then they wonder where all the good men went. Single women own millions more homes than single men in the US, and the gap is only growing. Homes filled with what? Empty wine bottles? You rig the entire economy to supplant men with women. Denigrate men as worthless, toxic trash. Remove the very thing that gives them self-worth, confidence, and integrity. Being the breadwinner. Then wonder why men are turning into reclusive losers and women are...
I think it's more around women becoming more and more obnoxious and being overtly misandrist. I'm not saying it's every woman, but you do see a lot of it, especially on the internet. So guys aren't really wanting to chase women like that who are going to make their lives hard, who are going to talk down to them, they're going to make them feel inadequate because they don't have some cushy job where they drink coffee all day. I know a really good friend of mine. He actually, his wife divorced him because initially when they got together, he was earning much more money than her. She was actually at university. He's a tradie. He's making really good coin. Runs a little small electrician's business. And then she went and got some job at some one of the big firms, big household name, and started working her way up. And she sort of got around level, over a few years, level sort of income with him. And she said to him, she's outgrown him. Like, said it to his face. This isn't working for me. I feel like we've outgrown each other. But really, she was saying, I've outgrown you because I'm looking down on you for being blue-collared because you're white-collared. I've got some really good friends of mine who are trying to meet women on dating apps. And a lot of them will basically delete them or not even entertain them, a conversation or a match or whatever it is on there, if they're not some sort of high earning or perceived high earning white collared career. So that is why there are more women who are living in homes by themselves, I would suspect.
Turning into lonely depressives. But hey, at least you got to live in a pod, work in a pod, wear a designer pantsuit, and glibly status signal to your followers on TikTok.
All right, anyway, I thought that was a pretty good video. If you want to watch that, go and have a look at it in the video description. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.